Good evening, everyone. This is the Inland Wetlands Commission of New Canaan, Monday, July 17, 2023. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Secretary?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Mr. Stepanek,
Here.
Ms. Jameson, present, Ms. Brunali,
Present.
Miss Owsley,
John.
Present.
Mr. Perkins,
Here.
Miss Sanford.
Absent, no.
Mr. Sillo,
No,
absent, and Miss Boyke.
absent.
I've got a little feedback. And anyone who has a laptop and joined us and does not have their device muted, press mute on your key.
Katie? Katie?
Yeah, I was muted.
Whose laptop that is causing feedback. Okay, that seems better. Not that. Times that. So we don't. That better? Okay, we are good to go. Sorry about that, Katie. Okay, Dan.
Yeah, Katie, will you take the place of Anthony Zillo tonight?
I will.
Oh, good, thank you. Can I have an approval of the agenda? Has everyone seen the agenda? Any comments, solutions? If not, can I hear a motion?
I move approval of the agenda.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 12th. You all have a copy of that? Any comments, deletions? If not, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Open regular meeting. Applications to be received and if complete will be scheduled for the September 18th, 2003 regular meeting. We have none at this point, at this time, but that could change. Is that right, Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay. Moving right along tonight, we have one application to hear, discuss, and to decide upon. It's application number 22-23-38, 60 Weed Street, New Canaan Land Trust. A description of it: remove and replace existing boardwalk and add diamond pier infrastructure. Build a new boardwalk along Wheat Street with a diamond pier infrastructure. Agent, the speaker, presenter tonight is John Winter. He's the executive director of the Land Trust. Mr. Winter, you're on. You're up.
Thank you, Dan, and I appreciate the time to be able to spend with you to describe our project. I am sharing my screen. Can everyone see it now?
Yes, just maybe move the mic a little closer to you. Keep your laptop on completely muted because the mics in the room will pick up your voice, not the computer. So you should be all set.
Great. Okay. Our project is improvements to the walkways at the Green Link Nature Center pathway that runs from Weed Street to the Nature Center. And our project has two components. One is to renovate the existing walkways that are currently sinking with the diamond pier system, which I understand that this commission is familiar with from previous projects there. We would be doing a similar type of endeavor there. And we are seeking to add an additional 80 feet of new diamond pier walkways in the wet areas along Weed Street. For anyone who walks those trails, they run kind of parallel to Weed Street, and they tend to be wet and a bit muddy. And our hope is to create the same type of walking surface that that currently exists with the boardwalks over the wet areas along Weed Street. Okay, so I want to show you kind of the current conditions on this slide. This is what's there now. We tried to put boards over the wet areas. This is right near the entrance by that by the white marking sign that's there. For any of you who walked that or probably made their way over those boards before. This is a photograph of the path as it looks now. This is one of the spots where there will be 2 additional sections of raised walkways with the diamond pier systems created. And here, a picture here of the existing walkway with the sinking posts and joints. This, as it looks now, okay, will be replaced, okay, with the diamond pier systems underneath, but the walkway would remain the same. So essentially what we're doing is we're pulling up the boards, setting them aside, taking up the joists, putting the diamond pier systems underneath them, and then replacing the joists and the boards over them to make them flat again. If you look at the photo there, you can see where there's a gap there amongst several of the boards. Okay. Similarly, right up to the bridge there are other gaps, and the bridge would again be all the lumber would be reused. And if we found any that were compromised because of rot from the water or what have you, we would replace those. But essentially, our hope is to kind of pull them all up and replace them at the same location. One thing, just to be clear, we're doing all this. There will be no machines. All this will be done by hand, and our hope is to kind of minimize the disturbance along the whole way through that. Okay. I have here a project map, so you can get a sense of kind of where this is going to be on the parcel. If you look at the left side, you'll see the mark there, newly constructed boardwalks, 2 sections of about 40 feet each. Okay. And at the top of the map, you'll see the existing boardwalk kind of in a circle, and that's going to be retrofitted with the diamond pier systems. A little picture, a little diagram of the diamond pier design. That is the galvanized pins to eliminate rust that will be sunken into the ground next to the pier supports. Okay. And they will go under the existing posts that are there, again hoping to reuse as many as possible in situ at the
Jack, can you
location.
speak up a little bit?
Okay. That is all I had. I am available for any questions you have about this project. As I said, we're going to do this to minimize our impact as much as possible, reuse the materials that we have, and at the end, hopefully have a much better experience for the people who visit the Green Link walkway there. So.
Questions?
Yes, Angela.
And Angela Jameson for the record. So could you just remind us what the piers, the diamond piers will be replacing? What you're currently using?
The posts are just kind of sunken right into the ground.
Right.
There isn't anything underneath them now. So they're
Okay.
just
So
vertical.
you just be
vertical
putting the diamond piers
You're right.
underneath the
Underneath them.
posts.
Exactly. They're 3x3s or 4x4s, now depending on the site. So same
Right.
thing, but now they'll be sitting on the piers instead of sitting in the ground.
And what would happen if you didn't do this?
Well, they will continue to sink and the wood will rot a lot faster. We only did this 5 years ago.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
And they're already wet and sinking. So it will hasten their demise, and we would be kind of replacing the whole thing.
George Perkins for the record. In case some of the new members weren't here when the Nature Center was done. The boardwalks over there are use this type of construction and it's very, very sturdy. And they did a wonderful job with it. And I think it's a great idea. Thank you very much on this.
Sure. Mr. Perkins, that's where this all kind of came from. In my first week on the job, Bill Flynn invited me over to show me his boardwalks. He's like, this is what you need, John.
I'm just gonna move off to the ash trees, okay?
Yeah.
And I understand they're not surviving at all. Is that correct? And the ones that are in there right now, you expect them to die? Is that right?
They are dead or dying now.
They are.
Most of the ash trees in this part of the world died about 5 to 10 years ago.
Is that right?
Yeah, exactly, from the emerald ash borer insect.
And the beech trees also?
The beech trees are suffering from a different malady, and that is a beech tree fungus.
Yeah.
They may have a little bit more time, but we're losing a lot of them as well. People in their yards will probably notice as well
Yeah.
the demise of the beech trees, which is really a shame.
Well, you're keeping close eyes on these trees. You don't want them to fall over on the boardwalk because there's some right there.
Yes, we're keeping an eye on all of them. In fact, we lost a tree this morning.
Is that right?
So I'm not at this site, but over at our Cedar Lane property called Kelly Uplands. Tree fell along Cedar Lane.
And you
So,
lost it just because it just toppled over, or is it just wind or what? How?
the combination of wind and rain from the storms.
Is
over the
that right?
weekend. Yeah.
Oh,
For the land trust, we do this pretty much every week.
you do.
Yeah.
Would you replant or plant another type of tree in there?
It
If,
depends on the location. In some cases, we do. The challenge that we have, Mr. Stepanek, is watering them. Okay. Because we don't often have water at the site that we can use, because you have to really water
Right.
a sapling for about 2 years. And sometimes we don't have the capacity to bring water to the site. We do have a big tank which we use for some plantings, but with significant trees and getting into the properties can be challenging. But yes, we are losing trees all the time and
Mm.
doing our best to keep up.
Angela Jameson for the record. So I had another question about the newly constructed or the new construction of the boardwalk.
Yes.
That's right at the beginning of the link from Weed Street to the Nature Centre, I understand. So why is it better for the wetlands to have a boardwalk put there rather than the existing pathway where, if I recall, it's mostly pathway with just a few boards on by the wettest portions?
It's really better for the guests than it is. I mean, the water will flow underneath the
Right.
boardwalk because it comes in sheets off of Weed Street, kind of, makes its way down and then flows into the wetter areas. With this design, that will be raised up, so we'll be able to flow underneath. But this is more about the kind of safety and kind of recreational attributes of the property.
Okay.
I have just a little slightly different thought on that as well. I think the raised boardwalk, as I actually may have mentioned this in my staff report, would be beneficial in these two areas that are problematic and
Mhm.
tend to get trampled. And if we get a rain event and then we get silty water, that's going to flush into the wetlands. So if there was a boardwalk there where people were now going, using the boardwalk to go back and forth rather than traipsing through the muddy area, I think it would do better overall and be a better.
Well, the other thing that will happen
application.
too, that's exactly right, Ms. Allen. The other thing that happens is that with the boardwalk, we may track in a few less invasives. Because the seeds of invasive plants come in on people's shoes and boots and walking right on the right on the soil there, deposits them
Yeah.
much more readily. So we find that at all of our preserves.
I think there could be another advantage too, which is if it's a very muddy area, what walkers do is they kind of go round it. So
Thank
that
you.
kind of
That is true
expands,
too.
that
They
expands the
do.
width of the pathway,
Yeah.
whereas you're just going to have a finite
Mhm.
width with a boardwalk because it's the width of the boards.
Yes, exactly. What starts off as kind of a 3 or 4 foot wide path turns into a 6 or 7 feet wide path, pretty readily.
Where does this is Dan Stepanek, the trail actually start? Is it in the nature center there? And they
Yes,
park their cars
behind the
there?
nature center.
Behind the nature center?
There's a children's area, there's a stone wall and there's a children's area there. If you
Yeah.
kind of walk behind there, our property starts right on the other side of the wall and there's a path that path that kind of runs through.
So
begins
people can
there.
park. There's plenty of parking. I've been over there before, but I don't know how much this is used, but I mean, is there plenty of parking over there for everyone?
John, if you could just go back to your map, then we could look at that, because that, I believe, shows the edge of, or it's close to it, maybe not quite all the way there. I know it's hard. I don't know that you can make that any larger, but Dan, if you look at this, so the nature center property is this is sorry, it's over here. So you can actually either park in the nature center,
Yeah.
the lower parking lot, I call it, and join this trail at that point. Another good place, safe place is where we parked, park in Irwin, go to the corner
Yeah.
and cross, and then you can kind of do it in the reverse. As far as how much is it used, I think I see it being used quite frequently. It's a very popular trail, a very popular link, which is what it was designed to be, to link the nature center to Irwin. And it's really it's been a great missing piece in getting people from that side of town, if you will, to all the way to Irwin. So when the opportunity arose with this subdivision, that's when the planning and zoning, I believe, put in the caveat for a link that would be allowed to go through this area. So, and
Yeah.
Land Trust was agreeable to doing the trail work because this had previously not been walked at all.
Yeah.
And it's really quite lovely in there.
Yeah,
Actually, if you
yeah.
get in and look at the landscape and what's happening. There's quite a bit of diversity in there. So,
I mean, it's one of my early morning walks, actually. I always park
is it?
in Irwin.
I-
And there's always plenty of parking space in Irwin
Mhm,
Park. And it's just so simple, you cross the road at the pedestrian crossing, cars stop mostly. And then you're sort of straight there onto the link to the nature center. Very nice.
This is not connected to the bird sanctuary though, is it?
no.
The
No,
trail,
not this one.
not this one? There's another trail, it is? Oh, well, there's a trail through the bird sanctuary, yeah. George, you have anything or Katie? Any questions?
No, I think this is something that is needed, and looking at the pictures, it looks, it also is helpful from a safety issue. And I think, the presentation is good, so I have no questions or comments at this point.
I had just one question, since it's looking quite favorable. What's your timing to actually implement the changes? Do you have an idea yet of when you might actually start the activity?
I was speaking to Anthony this morning and he said he's ready to go.
Okay, well, so it could be this summer. Okay.
Yes, it could be, yeah, it could be
Okay.
this, our hope is that it is this summer.
Great. Good.
Do you see any special conditions at all?
No, it really, I couldn't think of any. We wouldn't do an as-built. We already have an as-built. We already have an A2 survey of the property with all the wetlands located. So there's no need to do anything further from a surveying point of view. No, I'm pretty sure John will be there providing oversight as the project
I certainly will.
progresses. That's part of your
Part of
job.
my job.
So, no, I really cannot think of anything. As far as the vegetation, most of the land trust properties tend to be quite heavily planted and wooded and with shrubs. So replanting, this will kind of naturalize on its own. They're not taking out any vegetation in which to put in the boardwalks anyway. So no, I really kind of tried to give it some thought as to what might be an appropriate special condition if there was one. I did not
Okay.
come up with any. So I don't know if anyone else had a suggestion for.
Any other comments from anybody else? Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor of,
You better have somebody make a
oh,
motion.
make a motion. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So,
Yeah, you need a motion, Dan.
so Angela Jameson, I'd like to move approval of this project.
I'll second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion's carried. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you all very much. We're
Thank
very
you.
much looking
You
forward
didn't
to
tell
doing
us
this.
much about yourself. We got off to a little technical difficulty there, but if I know you're fairly new with land trust, but it's probably already a year, is it? Is it a
Just a
year?
year.
Okay.
It's just a year.
If
Yeah, I
there's
haven't had the
anything-
occasion to come before you,
Anything
before you
want
folks
to
yet.
tell the
Sure.
group, about yourself and
Sure.
welcome you to town.
Thank you. Thank you so
so-
much. Yeah, I'm new to the community. I came from the Rensselaer Land Trust, which is in the capital region of New York State. I grew up in Trumbull, and it's kind of a homecoming for me. I moved closer to home to be available to my aging parents. My mom is in Monroe and my dad is in Milford, and my brother and sister-in-law in South Salem, and they were kind of taking on the all the work of elder care. So to make things more fair and also kind of be available to my parents in kind of their golden years. It's worked out really well. It's been a nice kind of a time to spend with them. But I've been doing this for about 20 years or so, doing land conservation work. I also did some work on in corporate social responsibility. I was in the coffee industry for a long time with Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, and spent a lot of time overseas on coffee plantations, helping them with environmental quality and climate change issues and water issues, toxic waste from the growing and processing, process. And before that, I spent time working for the federal government on community development issues, kind of the people and environment kind of connection. I was in the second Clinton administration, working for Andrew Cuomo was actually my was my boss when he was the HUD superintendent. So yeah, I've been around this kind of work for a very long time, and I'm really pleased to be here in New Canaan. Everyone has been very welcoming. It's been a real nice place to be, and there's certainly wonderful opportunities to continue to do what the land conservation work of the land trust. I don't, for those of you who aren't kind of familiar, we're one of about 1,000 land trusts in the United States, and together we've protected about 61 million acres, which is so these are private individuals who have decided to protect their land either through sales or donations or conservation easements, and together that's more than all the national parks combined. So it's kind of an exciting and heady thing to do, that people decide to protect their land. And we've been around since 1967 and have close to 400 acres here in town. So it's nice to kind of be the next person working in that field here in New Canaan. So thank you.
Well, that's
Great.
very nice. Very good. So you have 400 acres here in town, huh?
Just about, yeah, about
Really?
350 that we own and about 50 that's under conservation easement.
And they're all over. They've got a fabulous map that they've put together
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
to.
You can see that
really
if you go to our website, you can see the map of where the properties are located.
You'll be surprised. You won't even know
Oh,
they're
oh,
there,
really?
Yeah, most people drive by them.
Your sign, a lot of places.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, those are,
You got a new one. I just,
Yeah, we just put up the one on Owen Oak Lane the other day.
oh, no, Lane, yeah.
Yeah, so
it's a
like,
nice little walk through
yeah,
there.
it's a nice little walk through
Yeah,
there. So our summer interns put that
I
sign
think
up.
there's a fox den in there too.
There is, and a
yeah,
whole lot of deer.
a deer.
I see them every time I
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a summer intern program with high school students from here in New Canaan and from Stanford. And together we have cohorts of 5 for 3 weeks, and they do a lot of our outdoor maintenance on our properties, and they put up the sign last week. So it's a nice program for them.
Great.
Good.
Thank you so much. That's great. Thank you.
Hey,
Oh,
We'll
you're
see you
certainly
around
welcome.
town.
So just stop sharing. Oh, there you go. You did it. You've done this before. And we have other business. We'll get into our other things. You're welcome to stay or go enjoy your evening.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Thank you. All right, before we move on to the administrative actions, Kathleen is going to give us an update on 45 Beach Road, where we know that there's been a violation. And I think she'll give us what she knows, and it's current too, up
Up
to
there,
date.
hot off the press.
Yeah.
So 45 Beach, as most of you will recall, was on the agenda, I believe, in June with a violation. You heard from Rob Frangione, who will be representing the property owner in their efforts to mitigate the damages that are done there. Rob's marching orders in June from the commission were to, move it along and continue to engage the parties that need to develop a plan for the actual mitigation. So Rob did send an email pretty shortly after the actual meeting. And the other part of that was I had asked for the written instruction that he was going to be we had discussed regarding temporarily stabilizing the site until all of these things can come together for you to actually hear a presentation from them and hopefully approve what their mitigation plan is. So he did confirm in writing what he's advised the client to do in the way of temporarily stabilizing the site from anything happening until the plan is done. He also confirmed in by email that RKW Surveying had visited the property and started to gather some of the technical information that is needed for Rob then to develop a mitigation plan. Rob did look at, I spoke with Rob this afternoon just to make sure I was completely up to date on everything that's happened until now. And he's just returned from out of town, but he did say that he did get a preliminary plan from RKW Surveying of the base work that they did. And before Rob had left out of town, he asked RKW to go back and gather some additional information, and that the two things were some additional topographical information and the trees that had been removed. So RKW has indicated how much that will cost to the owner, and the owner has paid that fee. And Rob just wasn't certain whether or not RKW had gotten back out as of yet to gather the rest of that information. Once Mr. Frangione gets the base survey information with everything that he's looking for on the plan, he then will also share it with a representative from Environmental Land Solutions, who are landscape architects, so that they can kind of decipher what to do in the way of a restoration plan from planting aspects of the plan. He's already spoken with Matt Pop from Environmental Land Solutions, just sort of giving him the heads up on, I've got a situation, this is what we're working on, these are the commission's directives. And so they're aware of the project. And I asked him if he anticipates to actually file the mitigation application for the September meeting. That is the desire of the commission, that this get in by September. And he anticipates that they will be able to file the mitigation application for September. So between September and the October meeting where the presentation will occur, we will plan a site visit at that point. Once we have the actual mitigation plan in hand. So that's where things stand as of right now. No additional work has taken place. Soil and erosion controls are in place. There's nothing further happening at the site. The homeowner agreed to that in writing as well on an email to me. They too are expressing an anxiousness to get this resolved. So that's where we are with that project.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions about that? Yes, Angela.
So Kathleen, we've been having a lot of very heavy rainstorms this summer. Do you have any concern that heavy rainstorms could actually worsen the situation at the site?
Actually, I spoke to Rob about that today, this afternoon. I said, what's your impression? We've been getting hammered with these storms. And he said, soil and erosion controls are in place. They're doing their job. So that's sort of the best we can do
Yeah.
right now. Most likely between when the area was disturbed in April, May, June, we've had probably a weed growth over the top of a lot of this.
Hmm.
So that will help to stabilize the area. So I don't think it will worsen, but if it gets worsened, that will be part of the mitigation. That's just the risk they're taking by leaving it the state that it's in. So we've, with Rob's advice and, what I had seen at the site, we gave them, some pointers on where to put in soil and erosion control just to make a preliminary protection of the area. And that was even before you got Rob involved. So they have done that. And I have not had any complaints for that particular neighborhood, so that's good. So we'll know, once Environmental Land Solution gets on board, they'll visit the site as well. They'll look at it at that stage. What does it look like now? So anything that has happened, they'll have to fix. So
Thank you.
Should we be confident that they will meet with us on the September meeting?
I'll
Yeah,
push it.
Yeah,
I'm going to push it.
yeah.
But again, I mean, it's a matter of getting the technical part together.
Yeah, yeah.
And that they're working on it. I can tell you that. That's clear to me. They're working on it.
Okay.
So September is still a little ways off. I know it's going to come quickly, but I anticipate they will be able to come up with what you're going to need to see in September.
That reminds me, just for everyone, we have no August meeting, so we will meet again in September, so. Administrative actions, anything?
So 1, 2, 3, there, what do I have? 6 there? Six administrative actions. They range from a whole bunch of different ones. These are all fairly new. I'll just speak briefly on some of them. 250 Rosebrook Road was actually a project that had gotten underway prior to all of their full approvals from the building inspector's office. So stop the train, hold the buses, let everyone catch up to what needs to be done there. The good news for inland wetlands, there's no activity in the wetlands. They are adjacent to a fairly large wetlands. We have everything we need set up at that point, this point with soil and erosion controls, hay bales. And so the contractor there is back on track and full permits have been issued to move that one properly through their review there.
Could I just
Yes.
ask a question about that? It seems all too often that, projects get underway before the necessary permits are in place. Are homeowners getting bad advice from their contractors in terms of what's needed and the timing?
This one is a complete baffling one to me. I met with the contractor at the site, tried to get an explanation as to what happened. They were under construction at a site next door, and I think it was convenience factor to perhaps start the excavation. They paid a triple application fee to inland wetlands to get their wetlands permit. So, I mean, I used my tools to try to dissuade this type of activity from happening. The amount of time that one took to get resolved was sort of shocking, because normally if you have a foundation that's dug, time is money and you want to move. It was 3 months before they kind of full circle came back with all the engineering. I don't have an answer individually. I don't have an answer. It's sometimes getting to the truth of what happened is often difficult. So we were in communication with the property owner that, when these types of things occur, my emails go to everyone. So I'm not just communicating with one individual, getting the side of the story. That one is unusual. Planning and zoning took action against them, and the wetlands took action against it to try to dissuade it from happening. So it was the subject of many land use discussions over the months while we got it resolved. So let's see, 133 Wahackme, that's a very small issue, just a tiny little hot tub. I kind of even felt bad having to issue a permit, but it was this property happens to be almost 100% with a regulated area on it. The homeowners were terrific to work with. They understood this is what I need to do. So it's an administrative permit for that one. And the next one is similar situation, a small kit barn that they're going to be doing in a property that's adjacent in the Upland Review area on Park Place. 72 Beach happens to be across the street from 45 Beach, but that's an administrative wetland application for some construction activities that are proximate to the home, not in wetlands. So they needed the administrative wetland application, so that was reviewed and done. On that one, Angela, that's an interesting one. So these folks at 72 Beach had a landscape architect. He reached out initially, probably back in January, and said, "This is what I'm going to do." So sometimes we have that
Yeah.
kind of relationship, and it all goes boop, 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 just falls
Very
into
nice.
place. So that was a good project. 112 Clearview, I think that's the big pool going in down there. So we've got a pool in the Upland Review area. 230 Smith Ridge is some grading and stonewall work, also in the Upland Review area. And hopefully, so that's it for now. I've got some others that are coming in the queue now. I'll report on those in September.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, any other new business? Anybody want to talk about anything? We got some time.
Not anything.
Huh?
The agenda. I'm kidding.
All right,
Yes.
can I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Beth, you want to say?
Second.
Sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Uh,
thank you for coming, everyone, participating.
Thank you, George from Maine and Katie from.
Where are you? Where are you?
Nantucket.
Well,
Oh,
Very nice.
I'm jealous.
well, we had one, I've been up here, we've been up here now about 2.5 weeks.